It is Sunday, February 16th, 2025, and new polling's out showing President Trump is the most popular president in modern history. And legacy media, Democrats, they don't know what the heck to do about it. Also, Dems walking themselves right into a major legal trap this week, and they lost. All that talk about a constitutional crisis, gone. What Trump's doing, downsizing the federal government, using Doge and Elon Musk to access and halt payments directly, well, the courts weighed in, and it's 100% legit, constitutional. Also, 25% tariffs on steel were just reimposed. This is the big one. Last time Trump tried doing this, all hell broke loose. Well, he just did it again this morning. Get ready, because come Monday, come tomorrow, a major domino effect is about to start, and more stories as well from around the country. But before we get started, thank you for liking and sharing these videos. It really helps out the channel, and consider subscribing so you don't miss these regular updates. So unlike Trump 1.0, unlike Trump's first term that saved legacy media, all the mainstream media outlets during Trump's first term saw their viewership soar. Trump saved those media outlets like CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, Washington Post, all of them. Not this time. This time it's the complete opposite. And new polling is out that shows every single day of Trump's second term, his approval rating has been growing, gaining, and likewise the mainstream media viewership continues cratering. Emerson College has Trump up 8 points this week. Rasmussen up 10 points. CBS News, brand new poll, Trump's up 6, and they continue like that. One poll after the next shows the American people believe President Trump is doing what he promised. And the key is that they overwhelmingly support his policies. Here's CNN's data reporter, Harry Enton, reporting this. We showed him on this report last week, but each week new polls drop, and they are flabbergasted. His numbers, they say, just keep growing, keep rising weekly, each and every week. Watch.
And holy smokes, I mean, look at what the difference is between now versus 8 years ago during the first Trump term, right? This is Trump's net approval rating on February 10th. You go back to 2017, Trump was already underwater at -5 points on the net approval rating. That's approval minus disapproval. What a difference 8 years makes. He's on the positive side of the ledger at +4 points. And again, it's not just the CBS News poll. We're talking about the Gallup poll. We're talking about the Ipsos poll. We are talking about the Pew poll. All of these respective pollsters have Trump in a better position now than they did 8 years ago. The bottom line is Americans are far more likely to say they like what they're seeing now versus what they felt during Trump's first term.
Okay, so how rare is this? Are you going to show us sort of where we're at now and how rare it is that this number
so
changed?
I want you to take a look at this plus sign, right? Compare that to the negative sign. Being on the plus side of the ledger, right? In positive net approval territory, a positive net approval rating for Donald Trump. Again, whoa. Entire first term, just 11 days, Donald Trump had a net positive approval rating. Compare that to the second term, just so far. Every single day of Trump's second term so far, he has been on the positive side of the ledger. 21 days, all 3 weeks. That's already 10 more days than he was in his entire first term. So again, this is just another sign that Americans are far more likely to like what they're seeing in his second term than they were during his first term.
He also won the popular vote in his second term, so it stands to reason that there would be more people that would approve of some of what he's doing.
And Democrats are stunned, completely taken aback, because every single issue, all the big policy issues, Trump's taking on American support. So what do you do if you're a Democrat? You're fighting things that your voters want. And these Dem stenographers in the press are now asking, what do we do? How do we fight this? Here's ABC this morning, Sunday morning, with Hakeem Jeffries, the House Minority Leader. This is the top Dem in Congress. Watch ABC forced to ask the one question a politician never wants to be asked. Do you agree with President Trump's policies? Because your voters do. This is great. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, like a deer caught in headlights on ABC this morning. Watch.
Donald Trump's favorability rating is actually higher than it ever was the first time around. Let me ask you, a recent poll by Marquette looked at several of the things that he has done or says that he is going to do, and 63% favor federal government's recognition of only two sexes, 60% favor deporting immigrants who entered the United States illegally, 60% favor expanding oil and gas production, 59% favor declaring an emergency at the southern border. Is there anything you are seeing that Trump is doing that you are in favor of, that you think is the right thing?
Let me say, as it relates to all of those issues, we're just at the beginning.
Look, it goes to the heart of the issue here. Voters want a president that does what he promises. For my entire freaking life, regardless of which political party you vote for or which candidate you vote for, it's always the same. They end up doing always the exact same thing because for 70 years, there's been a uniparty in Washington. Nothing ever changed. Well, not anymore. Trump's shattered the old Republican Party into a million pieces and rebuilt it. In another story, Democrats just walked themselves into a major legal trap as a federal judge restores Trump's federal buyout plan, saying Democrats and the unions challenging the Trump buyout plan have no standing, saying the union bringing the lawsuit doesn't even have any employees involved. It makes no sense. Federal judge said that any judge who tries to block Trump's buyout plan would be a fool, that the chief executive has complete autonomy to rescind or slow down federal payments and workforce reductions, also saying that Elon Musk and Doge is constitutional, that there's no constitutional crisis here. This was a trap. Trump set a trap, and Democrats walked right into it. Watch.
As a federal judge in Massachusetts hands Trump a victory on his federal worker buyout plan. That judge ruling that the union challenging the Trump buyout had no standing, meaning basically that none of their workers were even involved. In addition to that, the court itself had no authority. Basically, that this is just a frivolous lawsuit put up by obstructionist Democrats waging lawfare. Boston Judge O'Toole really looked at this and realized without any jurisdiction, without participants actually litigating in this particular case, he would look like a fool to block President Trump's buyout.
There is no constitutional crisis, and President Trump made it clear that he'll abide by whatever court decisions come down. So there is no constitutional crisis, and moreover, Trump is likely to win on all the major issues. Trump, as the chief executive of the executive branch, has the right to go in and audit and access payments, and he has his right to have his designee do that in Elon Musk.
And this case didn't even get to the Supreme Court. This is what Trump was hoping for. He tricked Dems into bringing a lawsuit about this because he knew what he was doing was constitutional, that he had the complete right to do it, and the sooner the court sided with him, which they just did, the sooner Dems lose all leverage, and he can begin to make major cuts to the federal government, meaning chopping away and eliminating total agencies, hopefully like the IRS, which is now set to fire 15,000 employees next week. The Internal Revenue Service has identified the approximately 15,000 probationary employees that will be laid off next week. Meanwhile, unemployment has spiked to 36% in D.C., all thanks to Doge. This is what draining the swamp looks like, and good riddance. Now, 15,000 more will be out the door, and like we've reported for months, the end goal is to completely abolish the IRS and replace it with an ERS, the External Revenue Service. Watch.
At the start of the 20th century, America was the richest country on earth, and we defended our workers from unfair trade policies with tariffs. And we only made money. We had no income tax. All we did is charge other countries and foreign companies, if they wanted to sell to America, you had to pay for entry. Okay, so imagine this. The U.S. government had no income tax. Americans got to keep all their hard-earned money, and foreigners paid the price. So now what's happened? We have the Internal Revenue Service. That means charge us internally. Now imagine politicians who can't even balance their own checkbook, taking our money, and what do they do every year? Let's just take more, let's just take more, let's just take more. So this is how Donald Trump is going to end it and fix it. Last week, he announced that we're going to return America to greatness by creating, and today is its birthday, the External Revenue Service.
And the swamp of DC is losing their freaking minds. Watch Michael Steele literally explode live on air this morning. This is great. Watch.
What would you have us do?
I would actually, you know what? I'd just like you to show that you give a damn, that you got a little emotion about the fact that people are losing their jobs indiscriminately, that this individual sitting down the 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue has given absolute power to one man who brings his son into the Oval Office, whose son says to him, "You're not the president. You shouldn't be in that chair." Now, where did he get that from? He got it from his daddy, because that's what his daddy thinks of the man who brought him into the Oval Office. So I just like to see somebody wake the hell up and get excited about the fact that your country is under assault. They're not at the gate anymore. They're in your bedrooms. They're in your living rooms. They're in your businesses. They got your data, dumbass. They got all your stuff. Elon Musk has his tentacles in everything you're doing, not just off of X, but now he's in the Treasury Department. He's in the Labor Department. He's in the Department of Homeland Security. And nobody seems to give a damn. So that's all I want, somebody to show that they care enough to get off their fat ass and say something about it.
But let's not.
In another story, which hasn't made the news for some reason, but will likely, we're going to start hearing about this when markets open tomorrow. Donald Trump this morning reimposing 25% tariffs on all steel imports. This is a big deal. Last time he did this during his first term, and almost immediately brought in over 100,000 new jobs, good jobs, steel manufacturing jobs. But there was so much backlash, exemption after exemption began being carved into them, and pretty soon they were barely in effect. Bringing back the U.S. manufacturing base starts with steel. It can't happen without steel. If you're importing your steel as a country, then you're importing everything else. Watch Trump this morning.
In 2018, you imposed ad valorem duties, tariffs on imports of steel at a 25% rate. Since that time, a large number of exclusions and exceptions to that tariff rule have been implemented. Because of the damage to the United States steel industry that those exceptions and exclusions have imposed, we're now, this order would reimpose that 25% ad valorem tariff rate on imports of steel, and it's presented for your signature now.
Okay. Do you understand what that means? It's a big deal. It's a big deal. This is the beginning of making America rich again. Mr. Secretary, do you have anything to say? As you know, Howard is Secretary of Commerce, doing a fantastic job. And what do you have to say about it?
So when you imposed the tariffs the first time, right, you added 120,000 jobs. And since that time, it's been picked away and nicked away and excluded away, and we've lost 107,000 jobs. And remember, these aren't just general jobs. These are steel workers in America, and now you're going to bring them back. You're going to bring those 120,000 jobs back to America. You are the president who's standing up for the American steel worker, and I am just tremendously impressed and delighted to stand next to you.
All right, that wraps up this episode. Like, subscribe. We'll see you next time.